For more information regarding the local impact of the Bay Area wildfires here in Cupertino, please visit cupertino.org/2020fires.
Good morning, my name is Mark Brunton. I'm the Operations Section Chief for CAL Fire Incident Management Team 3, and we'll be doing our briefing on the CZU Lightning Complex for Friday. So far we continue in the North Zone to have a lot of success up in the Echo Gulf area of the fire. We're in a patrol status. That fire is getting mopped up heavily, and so that's why we see that black line on there again for another day in a row. It's looking really good. Moving around into near Butano Park, we've had some repopulation yesterday, the communities of Pescadero and La Honda, which is well ahead of that. That's good news. And but down in the Butano colony itself, I've got a pretty active fire there yesterday and then throughout the day today. The weather's kind of been mitigating that over the past few days, but yesterday it kind of picked up a little bit with a wind that was pushing it. But that's fine. We have a line established down there, and we were wanting to bring that fire down into more favorable ground so that we can do some suppression activity on it. We're going to continue that on today, and I believe we're going to see some really good success and just have a lot of get more extinguishment on that part of the fire. In the Butano colony alone, we have a lot of challenges because of the fire-weakened trees. We've had a lot of trees that have been dropping. We're going in and assessing that area for mitigations so that we can eliminate those fire-weakened trees. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them. It's going to be a very big job. It's going to be a very painstaking process. It's going to take a lot of resources to take care of that issue. So we're going to be jumping on that and then working out a very good plan, not only with the fire, but also with the counties, in particular the Emergency Operations Center, to look at some variety of ways how we can get some contractors in to do that work, other than our specialized falling personnel that fall the trees. Moving down the coast, a lot of it's looking really good, getting some direct line on a lot of the fire, and then a lot of it is self-mitigated and it's out and extinguished, and we're doing a mop-up in patrol status. The community of Davenport, that's looking really good, got good line around it, and it's got re-energized. We're working on some other infrastructure issues, and we're getting it another day closer to repopulation. So in the near future, we're very hopeful that we're going to get that issue done. In the San Vicente Canyon nearby, we've had fire established in there quite a while. Very steep terrain, really tough area to work in, heavy fuels, but we are going to be putting a huge push of resources that we've got available now, some of the Type 1 hand crews to put in there and really open up those lines, get those control lines put in, and get that fire extinguisher mopped up. If we get good air, we're going to be hammering it again with our aircraft and in support of those ground troops. So that's going to be a big push on that part of the fire today, is getting that canyon buttoned up. We have concerns because of the neighboring canyons have very receptive fuels, very heavily laden with fuels, and we just do not want the fire to get any more established where it could potentially spot or spread into the neighboring canyons and align the fire up towards a variety of homes up there. So we're taking a lot of precautions and measures and developing a really good strategy to get that knocked out. Hopefully we'll get that done today. South end of the fire is looking really good. Our lines are holding very well, and continuing our mop-up phase. Highway 9 corridor, again, that burnout operation we did the other day on the just on the northeast part of Felton Empire Grade Road, burning in very nicely. It was a slow burning in process for some of it because there's so much acreage to do and to burn. That's looking really good. We're continuing to monitor that and patrol that and mop that up, and that's going to put a nice, good seal around the community of Felton and get that prepared for future repopulation. Up the corridor on Highway 9, we did have about a 30-acre slop over, and what that is that means where fire has burned over our lines. We discovered that late yesterday. What we feel the cause of how that is, we've seen a lot of what we call rollout. So again, steep terrain, fuels burn, the trees get weak and they burn, and the hot embers and hot chunks of log or material burn down below our line, and then will burn back up into itself. Creates a real more of an irritant for us, having to go back and replace line. So we're constantly patrolling and monitoring that. What we found yesterday with this is, because this area has not burned in probably well over 100 years, there's a thick layer on the surface, the floor of the forest, that has decaying material over time that's built up. And when we put our lines in, we put our lines any line to bare mineral soil or to just where dirt that won't burn, and that's why we put our lines in. That's a control point. Well, because this stuff is so thick, even though we cut down to what we think is bare mineral soil, there's points in which that decaying material is still intact, and the fire will creep and burn underneath there. And sometimes it'll be hours, sometimes it'll be days, and the fire will pop up far on the other side of our line because of that material that is slowly burning. So we have to be very diligent when we put our lines in. We have to go back and patrol those lines, and that's what we're doing. As we get more resources, it makes it easier for us to go back and patrol those lines. What we're doing is taking all our resources and putting them into the actual construction of the line and suppressing the fire and taking up the hot spots. And so sometimes we don't have the ability to go back and do a good thorough patrol. So now that we're getting more in there, we're going to be able to be more thorough in that endeavor. But that's just what we're going to be dealing with. Another one of those challenges in this area with the steep terrain and the heavy fuels and so forth. Interior, a lot of the drainages are burning out, so a lot of the smoke that you do see that's significant are those drainages well interior burning out. It's just going to be a process that's going to be ongoing throughout until for probably weeks, if not maybe even a month or more to come. Community of Battalion continue a lot of hard work in there. A lot of the structures continue to mop up in there. We have the National Guard here with a number of crews, and with what they're trained in and their level of training at this point, we're going to be most likely sticking them into the Bonnie Doon area where they can thoroughly go through on a very thorough process, mop up, take out hot spots, put line in where we need to put line in, and that's the kind of the manpower, the staffing, if you will, that we need to help mitigate that part of the fire. So a lot of hard work's going to go on there. Our road crews are continuing to clear roadways in Highway 236, which is a real mess, a lot of trees down, a lot of hard work that they've done, and a lot of hard work yet to be put forward. Also, the other interior county roads are being done. Painstaking process, a lot of debris material to make it safe so our crews, our engines and personnel can get in, suppress any fire and hot spots and mop up. And then behind them, the infrastructure, the utility companies getting in and doing their work that they need to do to put the communities back up on their feet. Our air program, again, we've had Mother Nature not really cooperating with a deep marine layer as far as aircraft. It's helping somewhat on our fire suppression element of it, kind of raising the relative humidities and moisture. But for the aircraft, until later in the afternoon, we're not able to fly. So once we are able to fly, we're putting up our aircraft. They're not getting the hours, they're not dropping the water to the volume that we would like and expect. In the coming days, we are looking at whether that is going to be more conducive, and once we can do so, we're going to be flying them to the max that we can fly them, dropping a lot of water, so that'll help us with some of the very inaccessible steep terrain that we can't get the ground troops into to help knock down and extinguish that fire, and then in support of the ground troops. Something that I would like to go over is a little bit, we were talking about the weather. So we have assigned to our incident not only an incident meteorologist, they're actual weather meteorologists that are specialized in fire meteorology. And so we have one on every large fire that's assigned in conjunction with the National Weather Service. And this one, not only do we have a meteorologist that is fantastic, one of the most renowned and best ones that we've got out there in this field, but he also has a trainee, somebody that's learning and being mentored by him. And so we actually have two of them on this incident, along with a fire behavior analyst that we have as part of our incident. And that little group together, that team, is responsible for helping us in operations forecast what the fire is going to do, how the fuels are going to burn, like I had mentioned before about the different type of fuels, 1,000, 100 hour, 10 hour. They kind of take all that and put all that together and synthesize that information for us so that we can make some really educated decisions when we're employing certain tactics and deciding to fight fire in certain ways. So one of the charts that they put together, a very complex chart, it takes each day and lines out a variety of factors, everything from what the weather's going to do, what's the cloud cover going to do, we talk about relative humidity. That's a very important factor in wildland fire behavior, the effects. So we look at the daytime and nighttime. We look at wind. Wind's the number one spread of wildland fire. We looked at the gusts at ridge tops. There's something called a Haynes index that basically determines the output of energy and how intense a fire is going to burn in certain fuel types, thunderstorm chances, and then chance of wetting rains. And so we look at each of these columns each day. There's a color coordination that makes it very easy to read, whether it's a moderate burning condition, an elevated, or an extreme condition. And it gives some key points to some of the factors that we look at. And so each day they give us this nice chart, so it's a nice quick visual to look at. And then for us, I can look at it very quickly and say, okay, here we're going to have some challenging conditions that day in these certain categories. And so when we're determining our strategy and tactics for that day, we as the operations section that sets the overall strategy and those general tactics have that information, and then down to the troops on the ground that are the boots on the ground out there squirting the water and cutting the line, they have this information as well, so that they have a great situational awareness and they can determine their safety needs, mitigations for where they're working, and then we can have a very safe and effective operation. Thank you.
For more information regarding the local impact of the Bay Area wildfires here in Cupertino, please visit cupertino.org/2020fires.